Today, members of the Sex Workers Outreach Project of Chicago, our supporters and our allies gather together to honor our sisters and brothers who have suffered violence and terrorism as a result of the negative stigma surrounding those who perform sex work. Woo! Here in front of the Chicago Police Department at 18th and State, we lay ourselves down in order to bring attention to the concern regarding police violence against sex workers and queer individuals. To paraphrase feminist and blogger Josh Truitt, quote, "We're told to turn to the police when we're in trouble, but is this force who will turn against us when we're performing acts deemed illegal or living an unorthodox lifestyle to some individuals, really who we want to trust to respond to injustice?"
No! No! 1, 2, 3, 4, stop the war! Against whores! 1, 2, 3, 4, stop the wars against whores! 1, 2, 3, 4, stop the wars against whores! 1, 2, 3, 4, stop the wars against whores!
I'm out here for human rights, for sex workers' rights, for women's rights, and the rights of queer people. I'm out here because as a young sex worker in Miami, I encountered a lot of violence, and from my sisters and colleagues and partners, constantly being sexually harassed, raped even, abused on the street, essentially treated like subhumans, and it has to stop. It's not a women's issue, it's not just a sex worker issue, this is a human rights violation, and we have to make sure we're holding the police accountable and that we're letting people know that we are actually human beings and deserve basic rights and deserve the choice to make our living the way we make it in a safe and, in a safe way.
On May 3rd, Dimitri Travail Dixon, a Houston Police Department officer, was sentenced to 6 years in prison for raping a prostitute while on duty last year. Quote, "Two convicted prostitutes told investigators that Dixon detained them twice on different occasions and forced them to perform oral sex before raping them and then letting them go," an investigator said. Dixon was charged last year with 4 felony counts of sexual assault and 2 misdemeanor counts of official oppression. Internal Affairs investigators said Dixon stalked several women while on duty, then took them to a secluded area to strip search them. Prosecutors said that he raped 2 of the women twice over a 3-month period.
We will not be silent! Stop police violence! We will not be silent! Stop police violence! We will not be silent! Stop police violence!
I want to make sure we're holding the police accountable. They are responsible for perpetuating violence against sex workers, against women, against people of color, against queer people, and anyone who's gender non-conforming.
Workers united will never be defeated! Sex workers united will never be defeated! Sex workers united will never be defeated!
Sex worker rights activist Norma Jean Almodovar states, quote, "Cops, judges, prosecutors raping prostitutes is a significant portion of rapists with a badge and government authority, although of course they don't limit themselves to sex workers. Some of these officers were charged with soliciting the services of a real sex worker or of an undercover police officer posing as one. Either way, they have the power to take away the freedom of a sex worker who does not choose to, quote, cooperate with them and ought not be sexually involved with them for any reason. The irony of cops raping prostitutes is that on the one hand, the argument radical feminists and religious conservatives make to continue the prohibition of consenting to all prostitution is that, quote, prostitution is a form of rape. But when a police officer actually rapes a prostitute or a woman who, quote, appears to be a prostitute, the Los Angeles District Attorney, for one, will decline to file charges because the woman's appearance makes it difficult for prosecutors to prove that the sex is not consensual. In other words, prostitutes or women who dress like prostitutes cannot be raped. The very fact that they would sell their sexual services means that if a man wants to have sex with her without paying, it is not rape. Boo! Boo! In 1986, Judge Gilbert C. Alston, a former LAPD officer turned lawyer/judge, explicitly stated that a prostitute cannot be raped. He said, quote, "The law does not afford prostitutes protection against rape or sodomy if they had agreed to and were paid for a lesser sex act. A man could force the prostitute to engage in sexual intercourse and sodomy without being criminally liable as long as he, quote, didn't physically abuse her, end quote. A woman who goes out on the street and makes a whore out of herself opens herself up to anybody. That's also a quote. She steps outside the protection of the law. That's a basic and fundamental legal concept, end quote.
Whose body?
Our bodies.
Whose rights?
Our rights.
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 We're stopping the violence and we're protesting for the sex workers.
Yeah. We are here to stop the violence against whores and making our voice loud.
All right, can you tell me why that's important?
Because they have their rights and we should have our rights, and it's their body. They should do what they want to do with it. It's not right for police to take control of it, and it doesn't belong to them. Woo! Stop the violence against the sex workers! Woo! Woo!
You have the right to do whatever you want.
4, 6, 8, stop the violence, stop the hate.
2, 4, 6, 8, stop the violence, stop the hate.
2, 4, 6, 8, stop the violence, stop the hate.
2, 4, 6, 8, stop the violence, stop the hate. SWOP-Chicago and its allies acknowledges that the Chicago police have assisted in bringing justice to sex worker victims. In early October of this year, Chicago police arrested Christopher Love for the murder of Sarai Michaels, a sex worker from Wisconsin. The arrest was done in 5 days, showing that Michaels' slaying was taken seriously and not treated as a stereotypically dismissed hooker death. SWOP-Chicago looks forward to the day when we can create an alliance with law enforcement similar to the Maryside model and make a difference in eradicating the brutality forced upon sex workers and the LGBTQ public. The reason I'm here is that my whole life I've been a sexual minority of one type or another, and a lot of the people that I've come to call my friends and family are also sexual minorities, and we've been ignored and rendered invisible by the system, whether it's the socioeconomic system, the legal system, religious systems, etc. And I'm here because being invisible sucks, and sex workers and all humans deserve equal rights, equal protection under the law, and the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Sex working is an American tradition of freedom and liberty and self-determination, and I'm here to support that.
We're here in front of the Chicago Police Department at 18th and State, and we just finished having our action for this year's International Day to Stop Violence Against Sex Workers. We're out here on this sunny, chilly day because many of us are or have been or supporters or are partnered with or have friends that are sex workers, and their safety is of the utmost concern to us. For people who they may have their own personal issues regarding sex work, and that's fine, but I think we can all agree that violence is wrong against everybody. As we work towards the decriminalization of prostitution, we feel that in the meantime we should be able to protect sex workers and allies and our Johns from violence and mistreatment and abuse.
It makes a difference that we're making a statement to these people and we're holding them accountable. We're not going to stand for the violence perpetrated against us and our communities. It's bullshit and it's got to stop. So thank you so much.
We have rights!